Our granddaughter, Ella, absolutely adores MCS. MCS is giving Ella the kind of start that we want all children in America to have. And I am so delighted to be here tonight and also to accept this wonderful honor. And my son Adam and my daughter-in-law Teresa and my wife Perian are all here, and I'm so pleased that you are all here. I want to just say a few things because people are hungry and I want to kind of get off the stage as fast as I can. But number one, this is an era when you talk about inequality of cynicism. Yesterday I had my last class of the semester at Berkeley, and I looked out over a sea of faces and realized that even though there is a lot of cynicism in the air, it's impossible to be cynical when you're dealing with young people, because that idealism and that energy is there. They're going to inherit whatever mess we leave, and they are already ready to do something about it. They are not cynical. In fact, they have witnessed some things that, as they said to me yesterday, several of them after class, I had known about, I had witnessed, I had been participating in, but I hadn't put it all together. 10 or 15 years ago, for example, when they were, my students were only little, about the age of Ella now, they did not imagine, and I didn't imagine 10 or 15 years ago, that, for example, gays and lesbians in America would be allowed to marry in most states, that the Supreme Court would be considering actually an equal protection constitutional right for equal marriage rights. 15 years ago or 10 years ago, to take another example, if somebody had asked me, are we going to have a black president, I would say, yes, probably in 25 or 30 or 40 years. I don't think I would have ever expected it as quickly as we did and have had one. And in my view, one of the best presidents we've ever had. And the list goes on, and the list gets very, very long. 10 or 15 years ago, I don't think I would have predicted that Latinos would have become such a large and growing and important voting group that almost every politician is now figuring out how to appeal to them, respond to them, acknowledge them, honor them. This is new in America. And the same thing with women. I don't think 10 or 15 years ago I would have expected that the next president of the United States would be a woman. I don't want that to sound partisan in any way. It's just that the Democratic Party is soon to, or I think expected to, nominate a woman to be president, and even the person who I would very much like to take her on in the primaries is also a woman. I mean, Bernie I like very much as well. I think Elizabeth would be a great contender. But women are active in politics, like Alicia. They are getting ever more active. They are rising to leadership positions, and my father, who is still alive at the age of 101, Ella's great-grandfather, he remembers a time in this nation's history when women were not even allowed to vote. And I think it is important for all of us who may be prone to sometimes feeling a little bit cynical about social progress, to take into account exactly how much has been achieved in terms of moving toward a more inclusive society. Now, having said that, I do want to acknowledge also that we have a huge way to go, particularly with regard to economic inequality. As many of you are painfully aware, we have never had in this country, at least in the last 100 years, at least since the Gilded Age of the 1880s or 1890s, the extent of inequality we now have in terms of wealth and income, and also political power moving to the top. The median Now, I've got to be careful here, because when I say median, some people's eyes glaze over. And also, when you hear that average wages have been going up, whenever anybody, an economist or anybody else talks about averages, watch your wallet. Because Bill de Blasio and I have an average height of 6 feet tall. Averages don't tell you anything, because they don't tell you what the people at the top, how they're bringing up the average. What you really need to do is look at the median. And median, that is half above, half below, the median income in the United States has been stuck, adjusted for inflation, at exactly where it was for the past 30 years, notwithstanding huge productivity improvements. The American economy is almost twice as large as it was 30 years ago. Where did all of that go? It went to the top. And with that income and wealth at the top also comes political influence. Now here, I want to tread very carefully, because I truly appreciate what you are all doing, what MCS is doing, and I truly appreciate the generosity of many of you in this room. But let me also just remind you that the political influence at the top has resulted in tax reductions for a lot of people. If we had, for example, the same estate tax that we had in 1998, when I had just left the Clinton administration, we would have enough revenue in the federal budget to pay for preschool for every child in America. And we would also have enough revenue, even beyond that, to pay for 2 years of free community college for everybody in America who wanted it. That's just simply going back to the estate tax level that we had, adjusted for inflation, in 1998. So why don't we? Why is the richest nation in the world not doing what we can do and should do? I think part of it has to do with what's already been mentioned, and that is people don't see each other. They don't live in the same communities. If you are rich in America, being rich today means essentially not having to come across anybody who is not. Being poor in America today means very often being in very large neighborhoods of people who are uniformly poor. The average life expectancy of a child born in the poorest areas of Baltimore, and I know this because I was just doing research on this yesterday, is almost exactly the same as the average life expectancy in Yemen. And it's a little bit, in fact, the parts of Baltimore where the average life expectancy is below Syria or North Korea. We are living through a degree of inequality of opportunity, inequality of income, inequality of wealth, inequality of political power, that is ripping this society apart. Were Frank's grandmother alive today, she would not tolerate it. None of us should. The cognitive dissonance at an event like this is simply that we want every child to have the benefits of an excellent education and a diverse education in terms of other people coming across different ethnicities, different races. We want every child to have what MCS can provide its children, our children. But we're not going to get there unless we have a public school system that is world-class, that is second to none. It is as good as the public schools that I had when I was a child. We must fight for that. We must fight for teacher pay. There is no way we're going to get talented men and women going into teaching unless they are paid enough. The law of supply and demand. Well, the law of supply and demand is not repealed at the classroom door. So I am extraordinarily honored tonight to receive this Living Dream Mentor Award. And I'm also extraordinarily honored to be part of the MCS community via my son and daughter-in-law and parents and my granddaughter, Ella. I hope we are part of this community for many, many years. Thank you.